It's Thursday, July 16th at 5:36 p.m. And this is the City of Ann Arbor Public Market Advisory Commission call to order. Stephanie, can you call to order?
All right. So I'll do the roll call.
Yep.
In no particular order, got Lisa Young.
I'm here.
All right, Peter Wolf.
Here.
Holly Parker.
I'm here.
Jeff Namath, attempting to join.
To be here.
And then Helen Chandler is not yet with us, unless there is a phone call. Let's see. Is that you, Helen? Nope.
Hello?
Oh, I guess not. Or
Nope,
is it?
somebody.
Does anyone know Helen's? Okay, never mind. We'll move on.
Okay.
Hello?
Hello, is this Helen? Or are you just a
No,
participant?
I'm just audience. This is Carlene.
Oh, hey, Carly. Cool. Well, I'm gonna mute you back, and if you want to say stuff, I can give you a moment when we get to their need stuff.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, thanks. All right.
All right. So approval of the agenda is the next item. Has everyone had a chance to look at the agenda from previous time or this agenda? And are there any changes or modifications? Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
I second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? It's unanimous. Section E, approval of meetings of previous minutes. In your packet, you should have previous minutes from the last meeting, which was quite a while ago. Are there any corrections or changes? Hearing none, or is there a movement to, or a motion to approve?
I motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes unanimously. All right, section D, first public commentary. Agenda items only, 3 minutes per speaker.
All right. We'll see if we have. Do you have a comment, Carlene?
This is Carlene. The only thing I wanted to say is I'm thankful that the market is back open on behalf of other vendors and customers as well. And I'm thankful that this last week we're assigning 3 stalls for those who want it on Wednesdays because there's so much empty space. And I would hope that as we see how many vendors are coming, as more crops are coming in, if we can give those who have lots of different crops that we've always planted enough space to at least give everything 1 foot of table space. And I just hope that no matter what comes, that since we have essential service called food, that everything would be done to at least keep the market able to function in some manner or form. And
Great.
That's it for now.
Thank you.
Thanks, Carlene.
And that's the only attendee we have. So then we'll move on to regular business, item G. So Stephanie, can you help us up with this?
Yes. So I noticed in the last minutes from the last meeting back in February, there had been a conversation about hemp at the market. And the reason I wanted to put it on a follow-up was just an update that we do have a vendor that has started bringing their CBD products in addition to their other products. They are a farm that does mostly vegetables, but they have added that to their lineup. We haven't had really anyone else applying or discussing it yet, but we have had that one farm take advantage of that opportunity.
Great.
Has there been any other reaction from anybody else at the market?
Not really. I know I spoke with Jeff a little bit about it, but I was hoping to be able to hear from him. But obviously technical difficulties kept him away. But none otherwise that I have heard. I don't know, Becky, if you've heard from anybody, I don't know if you have.
No, I actually haven't heard anything.
So.
What, Stephanie, I'm sorry if you said this, what what hemp product is being sold?
Yeah, it's mostly just, salves and balms and lip balm and things of that nature.
Mhm. And do you have any sense of how sales are going?
I have not asked them. I have not, but some people seemed, at least on the social media, to be interested that we had that product on offer. But I think it is still so new that
Yeah.
it might not be on people's radar yet.
Mhm. Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
Yep.
thank you.
So that's all I really had about
All
that,
right.
unless you wanted to rehash anything.
No, that seems good. It'd be interesting to see how that follows up with time. I think once things expand out further and more people see what's going on, then we'll get more feedback too. But it's good there haven't been any hiccups yet. So
Yeah, none really at all.
okay,
But I will
number 2
definitely
then.
update you as needed.
Great, thank you. Then number 2, COVID-related market changes and next steps.
Okay. So yeah, I just wanted to check in and give you all an update what we've been doing with the COVID. You might have heard a little bit through email or social media, but we have changed around a lot of the items, not items, but the ways in which we run the market. And one of the big changes is the sign-in process. Previously, annuals would have their permanent stalls, and then the dailies would be assigned day of. What we're doing now instead is we're actually giving everybody the opportunity to sign in either via phone or online with us the day before market, and then we're sort of already assigning it, with the same sort of seniority processes as previously, and that's what we've done partly to reduce the amount of people coming into the office and to reduce congregations. But it also seems, I don't know, I've been having some positive feedback as well as neutral and maybe not as positive feedback depending on which vendor. So yeah, I just wanted to get your feedback on that. Is that a process that you're interested in pursuing? Because again, obviously we're doing it as COVID continues and we don't know the end date of that, unfortunately, but just wanted to let you know that's our current process.
I know from previous discussions that the sign-in process before how it was done seemed like it was ripe for some improvement. And so making one of the proposals was doing it via phone or online, but there wasn't ever really the impetus to do it.
Okay.
So it's possible that one bright spot might be that this makes us do it. And so hopefully this will be an improvement that we can hold on to long term, if indeed we can make an improvement.
Sure, and yeah, I mean, we don't know how long we're going to be in this, so we're moving forward with it, and there are things, because some people are still on the old process, and especially people that haven't come back yet. There is a few minutes of people like, wait, I don't have to sign in anymore, or hold on. But that's to be expected with any major change that they're used to. But overall, it's been a pretty positive, smooth process for us. At least. But again, I also don't know what it was like before. So my perspective is a little bit different on that.
It's too bad that Jeff and Helen aren't here to give us some feedback that way. It looks like Jeff is
trying again.
Hopefully, maybe he could just
I know.
call in too. I wanted to ask about the Amish farmers though, since they don't, since the access to technology is clearly much more of a challenge. So how are the Amish farmers doing and how are you accommodating them?
Yeah, great question. For the most part, they've just been calling in, or once they've come back, they've just told us, like every Saturday I'll be here, expect me, or I'll be here both days a week, expect me. And in the case of all of them, they are all annuals, so they do have assigned spots. So that is relatively easy to accommodate them.
Great, thank you.
Yep. And I think even one of them has been taking advantage of the curbside. So they've been
good.
tapping in. So, but yep.
All right. And then 2, the stall reductions in physical distancing protocol.
Yes. So as Carlene did mention a little bit in her comment, we have had to reduce the amount of stalls vendors can get, obviously based on our need for physical distancing. because our goal is to have at least one vacant stall in between each vendor. In some cases, it ends up being naturally two, just because people would prefer not to have a post in the middle of their booth. But there has been some discussion around this issue. Carlene did mention in her comment that just this week we've returned to allowing the larger farms to have their third stall back on Wednesdays only. And that's partly because, you know, Wednesday's a smaller market, there is space for it, and we are still able to maintain the physical distancing. So we figured that would be a good compromise. Whereas Saturday right now, I don't know when we'll be able to return to that, if at all this season, just because, you know, each week we have more and more people returning. And we already extended a little bit into the Sandlot last Saturday. So we were starting to get a little bit more full. But I just wanted you to be aware that that is something that many farmers are discussing. And obviously the people that have the larger stall numbers want to return to normal on that. But we have been capping everybody at 2 stalls when there is not space for it. So everyone has 2 max on Saturday. And for most of the artisans, we've also been capping them at 1 stall, just to prioritize, you know, essential items.
So have you actually hit your capacity yet, or is there still space in the Sandlot still?
We have not. Hey, Jeff, welcome. Can you hear us? Turn your volume on. Oh, I don't know if I can control it. Let's see. Yep. Sorry. You gotta unmute yourself. Well,
Oh, I see fingers.
I know. I know. I wish there was a way that I could see it.
We can do hand signals.
Yeah.
Oh, he's connecting to audio again.
I know. I wonder if there's a way that I can control it like I did the last time. So
My guess is it's permissions on his side. So
yeah, it is. Anyways, hopefully you can hear us, Jeff, even though we can't hear you. But oh, it says his audio is still connecting. So
Yeah, it's too bad he just doesn't call in. Oh, there. Now
He can probably hear us. You're muted, Jeff.
yeah.
Okay.
There we go. Hi,
I think I
Jeff.
finally got
Hi,
it.
Jeff.
yes,
Yay!
welcome.
Yay! There you are.
You
Thanks
did
to her.
it.
It was your daughter that did it, right?
Good job.
Yeah. So, all right.
Well, welcome.
I think I'm good. Don't go too far in case I need you. So,
So we were just discussing the stall reduction that we've been having to do for the physical distancing,
yeah.
and how for Wednesdays we've returned back to allowing people to have 3 because there's space. But Saturday we're still pretty full.
Okay.
So how are sales going for vendors? I mean, I've seen the turnout and it looks decent, but not, not great in terms of customers. I'm just wondering, I'm sure we probably don't have actual numbers, but I'm just wondering in general how it's going for the vendors and how hard hit they've been, and if they're able to really start making things up, and if now that it's open, it seems like sales are getting back to anywhere near normal.
I think that they're probably the biggest hang up is the attendance is down for customers, I think. And then I think aside from that, a big problem is getting people through, I mean, everyone's trying to stay 6 feet away from each other. So that makes it a little difficult to move people along when people start lining up through the market, But I mean, I think everyone's doing the best we can. And I think it's going to get to a point where we just have maximum number of people that can go through and get help. Either they want to wait in line or they don't.
Yeah.
And how have the online orders been going? I know it was very popular at the beginning. Has it waned? Are you getting the support from the city that you need to help deliver the online orders to the cars? Is that even still happening? I haven't checked the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, it's been, there's less people participating over time, but we still are definitely getting support from the city. We have some extra park staff that has been helping us run the curbside. And there are still people doing it. I don't think it's as many people as in the beginning, but some people are using it also for delivery of their CSA if they aren't doing specific just pre-order in a per week thing. So it definitely is still getting used. But it depends on the person in terms of what they want to do it. I think also Wednesday market, a lot of people that were more apprehensive to come back to the Saturday market, I've been hearing feedback from them that they feel more comfortable on Wednesday. So because there are less vendors, there are less people at through the market. So that's the feedback I've received from some people.
Yeah, I've noticed that too. Just it's surprisingly busy on Wednesdays when I've been there on Wednesdays. That it's good to see. So.
Oh. Take a load
All right.
off.
I might fall asleep.
All right, we'll just yell loudly into the screen. So.
That's right. So 2C, mask requirements and recourse for noncompliance.
Oh, actually, can I ask one more
yeah.
question? Sorry, I know some of the farms have been working together. Like I'm thinking of the Washington Organic Collective with Brines and Rain Dance and Slow Food. And have there been any questions about if one of them comes back to the market, if they can have their online orders and have people pick them up at the market instead of driving out to like Slow Farm or Brine's Farm to pick up? I didn't know if that had come up as a question.
Nothing that I have heard. No one has approached me or asked about that. But yet they haven't come back either. So it's my impression that people that have gone to the lengths of setting up a separate online ordering are either, just doing that in lieu of their other market stuff. But again, that might change. I know White Lotus has not been back, but they will be back for the first time this Saturday. And they have been doing their own market on their own site and inviting some other vendors there. But no, I have not been approached with that question.
Okay. It'd be nice from a customer perspective to be able to pick up at the market, but I know it can get complicated.
Sure. And I would assume if it's similar to a regular CSA, that would be possible. But if they're not, if they're just sending the box and they aren't there themselves, that might be slightly different. But yeah, I'm completely open to discussing with any farmer that wants to do that.
Okay. It was more that they're a collective, and I think Shannon Brines told me that like half of the people that are part of, who you can order from are vendors, but there are some people that are participating that aren't vendors at the market. Okay. So I just wanted to raise that as a issue. Like I said, I would love to do an online order and instead of driving out to be able to pick it up at the market. If one of them comes back to the market.
Sure. Got it.
All right, any other comments about that before we move on? All right, so 2C, mask requirements.
Yeah, so since the executive order has been updated last week, there is the need now for everyone to be wearing masks. And I just wanted to get a pulse check and some feedback from you all in terms of, what we could do to ensure compliance of both vendors and then encourage customers. I know we're also talking with legal in the city to see, what our legal parameters are as well. But I just wanted to see, your all's thoughts about that specific issue.
I was at the market Saturday. It's probably been a couple of weeks ago, and I was actually surprised to see some customers without masks on. I had understand it, some of the elderly people I know it's more difficult, but these were younger people, and I was actually kind of surprised because the market was really busy and it was not possible to social distance. So I'm glad you brought this up, and I'm glad the governor's changed things to be clearer about the when people should be wearing masks. I don't know if anybody else has anything they want to add there. Jeff, how have you felt as a vendor in terms of mask compliance?
Well, you mean as far as how do I think people are following the directions? Is that what you're asking?
Mm-hmm.
I think you could really tell that people stepped it up this last Wednesday was the first day since the new order or whatever. And I feel like more people took it more seriously. I wasn't there all day on Wednesday, but when I was there, I didn't see anybody without a mask. When we get there in the morning and we're unloading trucks and stuff, that's the only time really, and nobody's around each other. Anytime people, once a market starts and customers are there, I saw pretty much everyone wearing a mask.
I don't remember what the status is on signage. Are there signs throughout the market now saying it's required?
They are. There's some small ones, and then we just had new ones delivered today that will be up for Saturday market.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And we've been, telling people, and it has been a vendor requirement, of course, since we've been reopened. Mm-hmm. So that's not something that's different. It's just, and most customers that I've heard from are actually excited that there is the order now because they've been concerned. Same thing you had said, Lisa, where they had seen maybe some customers that hadn't been wearing masks. Mm-hmm. So I'm hoping that that's a positive moving forward. And as it's important for everyone's safety, of course.
So have you, or has any sort of staff person, vendor, or whatever, said anything to any folks who don't have masks? Has there been any engagement yet to say, hey, it's actually a requirement to wear a mask, and how does that play out? Is it problematic or is it fine?
Yeah, there were a few people on Wednesday. One claimed a medical exemption, and then the rest, once we told them that masks were required, they sort of just left themselves. So luckily that they didn't push the issue. I should also mention that we do have surgical masks available in the office for people that forgot theirs at home really or need it. Although we are encouraging them first and foremost to go buy from the artisans that are making masks and selling them at market right now. But that's sort of how we approach it, is like, oh, hey, do you need a mask? Here, have one. And then if it goes beyond that, that's when the conversation really gets started. But I think Saturday is going to be our big test, given that we are, much more populated on Saturdays with both vendors and customers. But I'm cautiously optimistic.
Stephanie, is that something that the city parks staff that's there can help you with?
Yeah, yep. And they've been really great about helping with that as is. It's just sort of like making sure that we're all on the same page, that we're having the same messaging is what we're working on right now.
Great.
I know for some organizations too, there's with the mask order, the governor's mask order now, it becomes a liability for the organization if there are people in there. So that becomes another incentive to enforce compliance, or at least to make the request, and also does make a more strong ask of the customers to actually wear a mask. So.
Yeah, definitely. It's the onus is now on us. And I mean, we've been taking it seriously. And sure. Previous to this point, we just actually couldn't require it because we are a public park. So in essence, the executive order does help us in that regard. And as I said, the only feedback I've received from people so far has been in the positive. We were waiting for you to do this. Thank you. But then again, we'll see. Jeff, have you had any feedback from customers?
No, on Saturday, for instance, you could sit there and everybody who came through would have a mask on, and then you might see a family every now and then without a mask. I haven't had any customers complain or anything, and say, oh, I'm sure they go to the office and do that. They probably complain to you, but I haven't had any, no one's really said anything about it. They just, kind of go with it. And I think it's going pretty well considering, the problems we could be having right now.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, that's what I've been saying. If the mask issue is our only problem right now, I think we're doing pretty well. And we're just every day we're working on more solutions to present that to people in a gentle way that encourages them to be compliant. And I just didn't know, in the event that there was a situation that happened, I didn't know what your thoughts were about. I mean, in a hypothetical, I'm not really talking about anything we've experienced. I just want us to be ready for the eventuality of, maybe we do get somebody who is a little bit more volatile. And I just wanted to, you might not have any feedback other than what you've already said, but I just wanted you to be aware of that conversation we've been having.
Yeah, I don't think, like I said, I haven't had anyone even mention it really.
All right, good. Yep.
So far so good. Hopefully we don't have any problems like that down there. I think it's a pretty good crowd. I don't think we really will.
Great.
But it's good to be aware of it and ready for a problem like that, though.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, good. And the city has been really supportive in this end. I know there was a meeting with legal just this morning talking about, medical exemption. What does that mean? And they did clarify just this morning that we can ask for a doctor's note, because I was unaware what the status was. I'd been actually wondering about that for the last few weeks. So I think that will also help us as well. People can't just say medical exemption and then do whatever they want. They actually do have to document that.
Yep.
Great.
Is there a way to have more posted signage too, so that maybe it's at, if not on the tables, then in between the stalls or something, so it frequently says masks required, just so that onus isn't, or is less on the vendors and less on the staff, but the awareness is just really front and center.
Sure, yeah, and we already have it posted at every entrance, and we do have stanchions all throughout the market. I don't know if you've been down recently, but we definitely have had way more sandwich boards than we usually have, with all of the information about hand washing and mask wearing and all that good stuff. But they're just going to be a little more colorful and plentiful starting Saturday.
Yeah, I've definitely noticed them at the entrances, but I didn't, I wear a mask, so it's just not, I didn't notice them, but I was wondering if they're frequently throughout the market as well, like in between the stalls. So sounds like they are.
They will be when they arrived just today. So we will be putting them throughout, and then printing out small ones too. We could actually give give each vendor one if we had to also, that they could maybe even just like stick to their tablecloth or something. But we could talk about that tomorrow.
I think that'd be a good idea. It does seem like being able to just be able to point to something that no matter where you are, you can always say, no, mask is required. It's not just me saying this, it's the policy.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, is so it doesn't seem like it's one individual vendor, but it's the market policy.
Yep.
It's actually city and in fact the state policy. And
exactly.
So I think that's important for customers to be really clear on.
Exactly. And we're actually going to have a couple extra copies of our flyer at the market office window as well to hand out to people that want more information. So good. Well, thank you. That's helpful.
What's your thought on it, Stephanie? How do you think it's going as far as people wearing masks down there?
We've definitely been getting a lot of complaints, mostly via social media. So I don't know how many people are actually commenting that or aren't commenting that would want to say something. But we have been talking to them, and as I said, most of it was people complaining about customers not wearing masks, but there have been a few worried that vendors aren't wearing their masks properly, whether that means like their nose is hanging out, or when the customer walks down the aisle, someone takes it off, and that happens to be when someone saw them, even though they were not close to anyone. These are questions. I know there had been a few folks in the beginning that had a medical issue, so that they weren't wearing a mask, and they had been instructed, of course, to stay a minimum of 6 feet away from people. But of course, if you're just a market customer passing through, you don't know, those details. So if you just see somebody maskless or with their nose out, they assume that no one's actually trying to help enforce these. But yeah, we've definitely been circulating throughout the market, reminding people, handing out masks, because for us, it has been a constant issue in terms of people giving feedback.
I mean, I guess I don't even know. Is it a problem if, like I said, when we unload, obviously, and then when the market opens up, when the first customers start coming through, we all put our masks on.
Mhm.
Is it a problem if I step to the back of my stall away from people and I pull it down and I take a sip of water? Is that, I guess I don't even know where all
Sure.
that lies.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And you're right. Like, you're doing the right thing, stepping away from people, taking a sip, because of course, you need to hydrate, people need to eat, or maybe talk on the phone without a mask
Right.
makes it hard to understand. So yeah, as long as you're stepping back, you're not near someone. Yeah, that's completely within the parameters of what you're allowed. It's just when you're interacting with the customer. And I should also say too that it's been unseasonably warm since the market has reopened. So with high levels of humidity, and I know for 10, 11 hours, that's really hard to keep your mask on in the high humidity. And some of our vendors are more elevated ages, so that is difficult, and I understand that. So that's what I'm thinking. I think maybe somebody saw you taking a break, even though you were not near anyone, and they thought that is like, oh, people aren't complying. I'm not sure, but we have been getting a lot of feedback about the masks, whether it's customers, it's mostly on the customer end, but people have mentioned it a little bit about vendors that, might have a droopy mask or
Right.
might be one of the medical exemptions that are standing away from people. But
Okay.
But we have been hearing it enough for me to put it on the agenda, so. But again, if this is our only issue that we're hearing about a lot, then that's a positive, because it is something that we're getting a lot of support from the city, and now luckily the state has stepped in to support us too.
Okay.
I'm sorry?
I'm wondering if we could circle actually back to the sign-in process with Jeff just to get his feedback on that. Are you okay? Jeff, do you have thoughts on the new sign-in process?
I mean, it doesn't really affect me. So in that aspect, so I guess I really haven't given it much thought.
Have you heard anything from others about how it's pros and cons?
No, not really. I haven't, no. I don't think there's any issues with it.
Good. That's good to hear.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll move on then to 2D, new vendors.
All right. So this is sort of an add-on to the stall reduction conversation. Because stalls are having to be reduced for the larger farms, we have somewhat been very choosy in terms of allowing new vendors to enter. And the only time we've been bringing new people on really are if there is a need. For example, we have a new bread vendor that just started last week, and that's because one of our main bakers just went on paternity leave, and White Lotus hadn't come back yet at the time. So we really needed a fresh bread vendor that wasn't, a baked good type vendor. So we have brought them on. And then also Stephanie, the outgoing market manager previous to me, Stephanie Willette, is now there for 2 tracks. Another reason we brought her on is that she did have pork as part, or does have pork rather, as part of her lineup, because currently the only meat vendor that's beyond poultry is Ernst Farm. But other than that, I just didn't know if you had a conversation previously, or I guess not, because you haven't met since February. But if you all had feedback on whether we should have a full moratorium on new vendors, if we should just be really cautious, like what we have been with, need-based, letting people in where there is a need, or I just was wondering what your thoughts were on that.
I think that personally, I think there should be a hold on it till we go back to normal. That's my opinion.
And I guess it also depends too as to how many vendors are just not showing up too. So if there is a lot of extra capacity, then I don't want the market to diminish just because we have a lack of offering. And I think that would be an unfortunate thing. But again, it's the balance as to who's actually coming and if there's space or if we're having tons of extra space.
Yeah, so in terms of just numbers, we've been having an average of like 23, 24 on a Wednesday market, and we've been at about like 56 for Saturday. So we're pretty much, I would say, like at half capacity. And there have been some folks that are either, you know, retired or haven't come back and don't plan on coming back. There was a vendor who actually unfortunately passed away over the winter. So there still are some, you know, openings, but I understand what Jeff's saying in terms of if the annuals and people in high seniority have to be limited. I can see from their perspective that it might not seem fair to bring new people on. So I can see from both sides.
Yeah, if there's that many spots, I think the first thing to do is space us more and give us our full capacity before letting new people down. I mean, once this is all over with and everything goes back to normal, things will start rolling like they normally do. There's you know, there's a lot of people I talked to that didn't even, I don't think there's any shortage right now of places to go and sell stuff. I talked to a couple of people today at the Zingerman's market, and they were talking about that the Chelsea market wasn't full, you know, and there's just, I think there's a lot of markets that aren't full.
Got it.
Stephanie,
So
I
I'm
think.
curious. Oh, go ahead, Lisa.
Sorry, Holly. Stephanie, I do think that the being selective and thinking about the need is important. I didn't know if there's, you know, since Wednesday is not full, if there's a new vendor who would be interested in starting, but you know, Saturday's clearly quite full right now, especially with the spacing. Is there, if this looks like somebody that's a really good fit, I know there was an identification of people being interested in more prepared food as one of the needs. Would there be an option to talk about them and say, well, we only have space on Wednesdays now, but if you want to start coming and get your feet wet at the Ann Arbor Farmers Market, then there's the potential of accommodating you on Wednesday and then Saturdays when the number of vendors goes down. Because I also don't want, you know, after January when the number of vendors goes down, it's nice to have some people that it's nice to have the market a little bit fuller at that time. And I don't know if new vendors might help fill some of those spaces in the winter market. Just an idea.
Yeah. Sure. I think the only thing that's difficult is once someone is in, we don't necessarily specify which market. They have the opportunity to do both. But otherwise, I mean, I do think that that's important to give people maybe a chance to start out and where we have more space. But you know, we have to be really selective in terms of who that is. And I should also mention that right now, prepared foods, based on the Washington County Health recommendation, people can only be prepared food vendors right now if everything is prepackaged, pre-made for consumption off-site. So that is partly another reason that we are having a lot of openings right now, is that most of our prepared food people can't come back, even if they wanted to, or they would have to, you know, change their entire process. So it's, for example, like Rue's Roast can't even serve coffee. So that's something just to keep in mind. But I know we all want the prepared food back, believe me. Everyone wants their lunch back. But
I have a question. I think it might have been answered, but Jeff, you mentioned you thought there should be a moratorium on adding new vendors, at least for Saturday. And I guess I'm wondering, I'm sorry if this is a silly question, but I'm just wondering why. And it sounds like maybe it's because of space and crowding. Is that your main concern?
You're talking about adding new vendor, why I said they should put a hold on new vendors? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
Well, because we own 3 spots that we rent at the market, and they're asking us to move down to 2 spots, which takes away approximately 8 feet of our display. And the reason for that is for social distancing. So what I'm saying is, if there's room down there, we should get our 3 spots that we normally have, and then just space everyone out, put the 6 feet between everybody, as opposed to scrunching us down to 16 feet and then bringing new people in to fill in the extra room. If there's that much extra room, then there's room for us to have our 3 stalls. That's all I'm saying.
Yep, no, that makes sense. Thank you.
Yep.
I should also point out the thing that makes it difficult is that annual vendors have their assigned stalls.
Correct.
So based on the spacing, that would mean certain annuals would be bumped from their spot. So that's like another part of why this is a difficult thing to sort of pull off. But I know Jeff is not alone in those thoughts as annual larger farms specifically.
Now, I'm not trying to figure all this out, trying to educate myself here on how to use this thing. Everyone's asking me when we're going back to 3 stalls. Did I miss a part of that conversation? Do we still not know yet?
Well, yeah, I think you might have missed the very beginning where we were saying we're going back to 3 stalls for Wednesday. We've already started going back to that. But Saturday, as more people come back, it's not likely that we're doing that anytime soon.
Okay.
Because we were already in the sandlot last week, even with regular folks, with not even, with only 55 people.
Right.
Out of, how many are on our roster, like 100 plus, 120, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So, because that's our goal, right? We don't want to turn anyone away that is a vendor at market. Like that's our primary.
Right.
But with that said, right now, everyone that wants to come back is back. So we're really just trying to balance those 2 things currently. But Wednesday, you can have your 3rd stall back. I even updated the map for yesterday's market.
I saw that. Yep.
Stephanie, do you think this might get to be an issue in the fall if there's people who haven't made their 15 times at the market, or is this going to be a year where that sort of requirement is decreased some, or has there been any conversation about that 15 times?
Yeah, great question. Yeah, farmers and vendors can get a waiver if they don't think that they're going to be able to do it because of COVID. So yeah, we're definitely giving people the opportunity to keep their seniority, because yeah, they shouldn't be missing their seniority if they just don't feel safe, or if they don't have a capacity to be there with staffing or whatever it is. We're being real flexible with people on that.
That's great. Okay, then if there are any other comments on that, we'll move on. So 2E, event schedule.
All right, this is probably a pretty short one. All events are canceled for the foreseeable future. It has been a sticking point. I know the food trucks are somewhat disappointed in this. They really want the food truck rally to be reopened, but I don't think that that is a good idea, given how many people usually attend it. That event's usually between 800 and 1,000 people attending. And obviously, we're not even wanting to go above 150 at the market at any given time. So unless there's something miraculous and COVID goes away in the middle of August for fall, at the current moment, all of our events are canceled. So
whose car was that?
Good.
Hi there.
Right. So moving on then, item H, new business, non-agenda items, or is there any new business anyone have? Seeing none, we'll move on to reports, a market manager report.
All right. I don't have anything formal, but I just wanted to say hello. Good to meet you all, albeit virtually. It's been a very strange time to start, of course. But the most positive feedback I've been getting is stuff that, Carlene as well as Jeff has said in their comments, is that we're just really excited to be back open. I think that's our number one important thing, both for customers as well as vendors. I know it was a hard thing. It's sort of unprecedented in the history of the entire market to be closed ever for that long. So I know it was a really shocking thing, and I'm just really happy that people have been very patient with us and with me being new on top of everything. with being able to navigate this. And yeah, we're hoping that everything's going to continue smoothly. Everything else seems to be great, you know, like our Double Up Food Bucks program. I don't know if you've been aware of this, but they have suspended the daily spending limit on that because of COVID. So that's been something that's really exciting. So people on food stamps and EBT can come, and SNAP can come and get as much as they want to spend. And that's obviously really great for them, and also great for farmers, because people can try things that they never have had before, or that might not have been in the budget previously. So that's one exciting update. Another exciting update is we are starting both the WIC program and the Senior Project Fresh this weekend. So that's another way that people can expand their access to healthy fruits and vegetables using their benefits. So those are some exciting things that are happening just right now. I don't know, I'm indebted to Becky as well for helping me and being awesome. And she's a huge reason why the market is reopened and running smoothly. Holly.
I just had a question.
Oh, sure.
With the incentive programs, the Senior Market Fresh program and the Double Up and the WIC program, are you seeing, it sounds like you're definitely seeing, at least with the Double Up, that the earning is increasing because of the lift of the earning limit. Are you seeing spending also? I mean, are the farmers actually do you think that they're earning more from these incentive programs because of the increase in participation in SNAP and more people having more to spend?
Yeah, I think so. And also I forgot to mention that because of the pandemic EBT card, which is specific to people with school-age children right now in the state of Michigan, there are also people that have never had those benefits before that are tapping into them. So yeah, I would definitely say that it is up. The only caveat there is it's really only for our fruit and vegetable vendors. So it is a little bit hard to gauge overall in terms of spending, but people I've seen are just really excited that it's happening, really excited they can get as much fruit as they want this time around and not have that limit. So that's something that I've been really happy to see. People are definitely taking advantage of it.
That's great. Thank you.
Yes. And just trying to think if there's anything else. Peter?
Yeah, no, it's great. I'm also glad too that I have you aboard. It's great to have some leadership back in position too. So I've heard good things about you too. So that's been good too.
Thank you.
My ear to the ground, so that's good. And I'm also happy to see everyone here too for resuming these meetings, because I think that's important too. There was a little hiatus there, and that was kind of unnerving in terms of it was unsure what was going on, and there was a lot of concern. So I'm glad we've got some infrastructure for moving forward too. So it puts my heart at ease. So thank you.
Good. Yeah, I know that we were sort of waiting on the governor to put an executive order through so that we could have these public meetings online and then still have them accessible to people. So that was part of the delay. And also me being new was the other part of the delay. So thank you for your patience and flexibility. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. All right, so then moving on to committee reports. Are there committee reports?
I didn't know if you even had committees. I just put it on the agenda just in case.
Oh, okay, good. Yeah,
Sorry.
So there are no committee reports that I'm aware of. Is anyone aware of any committee
reports? A commission of 5,
reports?
I figured you probably didn't have subcommittees, but just in case.
Not yet,
Yeah.
not yet. But
Okay.
Yeah, if we have any committees, that alone merits a report. So
that does. A whole meeting, actually.
Yeah, we are a committee. Okay, great. Cool.
All right.
All right.
So then, hearing no committee reports, we'll move on to section J, second public comment. This is not limited to agenda items. Could be anything.
All right, let's check in with our phone participants. Carlene, do you have any more feedback for us?
Just be extremely cautious about adding new vendors until you give the annual vendors their 3 stalls back. And I know that you're wanting to not put a post in anybody's stall, but if you'll think about it, for everybody who has 3 stalls, you always have a post in your stall. So that might help you with assigning and using all the stalls that are available. And the other thing to think about is Wednesday only, returning to 2-way traffic. on the for the customers.
Got it. Thank you.
All right, and that is our only public commentary capability, so that will be it. I would like to then
I see a
adjourn
hand
for the
raised.
meeting. Yep. Oh,
Sorry,
is
Peter.
there- yes.
I just want to ask, I know we're still in COVID, but one of the main things that we had been talking about much of last year was the winterizing the market. And
Yes.
at the last meeting, Stephanie Willett had I think they were from the city, the architects put together a proposal. And it's not to talk about tonight, but could we revisit that in the near future?
Yep.
Mhm.
Great. I will put
And actually, that's a really interesting question too in the context of COVID, because enclosing the market is like the last thing we want to do in some ways for this year.
Yeah, I mean, I do think that's a good point, and but it's taken us so long to even get to the point where we can think about it.
I
And
agree.
with those individual vinyl pieces, there could be ways to think about airflow
Yep.
in the market. So
This might actually be a good time to make sure we pursue this, and it might actually be cheaper to get done now with building and everything else being slowed down. We could leave the doors open and then it would still be open air. But I think that we're the closest we've ever been. I've always heard my grandpa always talked about, back in the 60s when he was on the commission, they talked about closing in the market like that, and it never happened. And then my dad in the 80s, and it never happened. And maybe we didn't get any closer than they did back then, but I feel like we were closer. So I think it's important to keep on it.
I agree.
got it.
and also if the number of vendors is down, then the installation will have less effect on the vendors if the install is being done, sometime when there aren't so many people there, because I know that was a concern if it was going to disrupt the ability to have vendors in enough spaces at the market. So that'd be great if we can revisit it.
This might be a stupid question, but is there any kind of additional grant you can get being an open air market because of all the COVID stuff?
I'm not sure. I'll ask around and find out for you.
I mean, there's a lot of stuff out there.
Sure. I'll ask Josh. I'll write it down. Okay.
With the Ann Arbor carbon neutral movement too, that might be an opportunity to explore additional solar, because we talked about that as a way to power the heat that might go in at the market too.
Cool. Got it.
Thanks for bringing that up, Lisa. Not just the solar, but the winterization project in general. I think you're right. I didn't realize how long, Jeff, this conversation has been going on. But if we do have the opportunity to make this happen, it's incumbent on us to keep pushing on it. So let's not let that slip in light of COVID.
I agree.
Sounds good.
All right. So any other comments before we adjourn? All right. Well, it's 6:29 and I hereby adjourn the meeting. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.
you.